growing up in Westchester, I had no idea that the Foundry existed, and I'd been through Phoenixville hundreds of times, but it really just, you make one turn off of the main street and it just jumps out at you.
We heard about the Foundry because we live close to it, so we drive by it every day. So when the time came to find a reception venue, we knew we wanted to go there and look for one.
Initially, it's just amazingly grand when you walk.
We didn't want to get married in like a country club. We wanted a different type of environment, so we wanted something kind of unique.
I wanted something beautiful, elegant, but unique and different, and that's exactly what the Foundry was.
Because it was like that great mixture of historical, renovated old Foundry building, which was kind of cool with all the different features it had.
It's not like one of those ballrooms where you walk in and everything's picked for you.
And all the country clubs were kind of the same. The Foundry offered a real unique experience with different rooms, and just the decor and everything was right up our alley. So.
And the lighting is beautiful there, so it's very romantic. So when we saw it, we loved it.
Finally seeing the building, in person was all I needed to do.
Right when we walked in the door, I think we knew that that was the place that we wanted to get married at.
It was just a great space. Love at first sight.
It's a nice twist between feminine. The women want their wedding to be romantic, and the Foundry has that with the lights and the chandeliers, but you also want it to fit the man, and it did because of like the industrial look that it has, how some of the structure's still exposed. You can see the layout of the ceiling and things like that. So it's not, I think it complements both the woman and the man. So the man doesn't feel like he's walking into a room where these rose-colored flowers and these green carpets and gold accents. The Foundry is so different. It sparkles, and when you walk in, you go, wow. And everybody walked in and went, wow.
When we were introduced and told about this catering company, jScott, it came from trusted individuals who have been in the industry for a long time. So when you get advice from people who have been doing this a long time about a caterer who they like to work with or that they are convinced is the best, you take their word for it and you know that you're working with the best.
When it came time to look for a caterer, what stood out about jScott was that when I called 4 different caterers. One of the caterers just said, I'll email you the menu, call me if you have any questions. Okay. So when I talked with jScott Catering, one of the event coordinators spoke with me on the phone for about 45 minutes. She explained everything. When I ended that conversation, I felt like, okay, this isn't going to be that bad.
In the beginning, early stages of planning a wedding, I, had some unique things that I wanted to do at the wedding, but also keep the traditional classiness and elegance involved in a wedding. And as soon as I started to explain those ideas to Robert at the Foundry, he mentioned your name, and he knew that you would be a perfect fit for everything that we wanted to do, that jScott Catering would be the perfect catering company to meet every, aspect and idea that we had. Everything from the little detail of the cocktail table in the corner to the entire presentation in the ballroom. So
we were nervous going into it. We didn't know really what to expect. So, the guidance and everything that you guys gave us was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I felt very comfortable. I had, as most brides do, my big binder that, I would bring to our meetings. And I think, honestly, I probably hardly pulled it out because in the conversations that we had, you just knew the direction that I wanted to go. Your team did. And I felt very comfortable that this was the idea I had, but you were going to be the ones to execute it because I didn't really know how it was all going to piece together. And everything from my unique little things that I wanted that were very specific to me, to the actual presentation and what would make it a beautiful, wonderful reception, a wedding to our guests. You had it covered, and I wasn't worried.
When you plan a wedding, you don't have a whole lot of time to get things done. So when you have time to plan it, you want to make the most of it. And when I would email the event coordinator, she emailed me back right away.
It makes you feel good when you have to lean on your caterer so much for so many things. Having somebody that you can trust that will work with you and that's always communicating and it's quick to communicate.
She answered all my questions. I would send her these long emails. She would get right back to me. I kind of felt like I was the only one she was working with, but I know that's not the case. But it was wonderful. She was on point. She answered everything. It was great.
The tasting we had was actually one of the best meals I've ever had.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. And the sushi bar, and that was great. It was the best tasting we went to.
Yeah, the tasting that you guys had was great. Everything from when we pulled in, we had our little name tag up on the,
Yep.
when we pulled in, my two parents were here and Patty's mom was here.
I loved the tasting. I thought it was a lot of fun. We actually had family members that were trying to get their way into the door to be invited to the tasting. But
The cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteaks and those little hamburgers. I was locked after that.
It was just fun because both of our moms were there, and it was just cool that we got to try everything, and it was nice that you left the room and let us kind of talk amongst ourselves and figure everything out, and it was a really fun experience. And the dessert was definitely my favorite part.
The actual tasting environment, in the room, and you talking us through the different types of menu options and the ideas that you guys had was great too. It was a nice way to.
And I liked
help
how
us.
you had our menus with our names on it and the date of the wedding and, all the foods that we were trying. So that was nice because we went back and we made notes. When we went home and we talked about it, we could refresh our memories. So just how the table was set up and we had our little note cards with the menus on it. Like those things we didn't think to bring a notepad and paper, but we didn't have to because you had it ready for us, and it made it a lot easier.
The first impression that you get from the caterer is your tasting. But it's also the first time you feel special. It's the first time you've been served, and you feel like the king and the queen, and the people who this is all about. And I think at your tasting you should feel that way. I think you should feel like we're going to get taken care of, and that's exactly how we felt.
we had our personalized menus so that we knew exactly what we were eating. It was a lot of fun.
The best part about that was the quality of the food and the presentation matched.
You didn't skip on any little detail. You made sure everything was perfect.
The Foundry and jScott worked well together because I just felt like during the entire process they were just on the same page. Like if I talked to you about something, I didn't have to go over it with the Foundry as well. Like you guys were talking back and forth, you were talking about what we had talked about, and everyone was just always on the same page. It wasn't complicated, it was just a very easy, relationship.
Pick the Foundry because you love the space, but now what do you do? And how do you choose what you're going to put in there, and who's going to do that for you?
And then we talked to Bob and we talked to you, and you really only work with Bob and you, and everything's done. Like it was so easy.
I think one of the great things, like right from the get-go, going over to the Foundry and meeting with Bob over there was great. He's very helpful and very understanding.
Bob was really great to work with too. He was always around if you needed to call him to ask him something, and I thought he was great.
We also stopped in a bunch of times to see wedding venues that you guys set up, that you were catering. So it gave us a good idea of kind of what you guys can do.
It's not as hard as it sounds like it's going to be. It's so much easier because there's so many people helping you. I don't know. It was awesome. And that day, I didn't have to worry about anything.
Our reception tables and the color schemes, and we had some ideas, but when the event coordinator helped us put it together, she laid out what we thought we wanted, and we realized it wasn't what we wanted, and she threw in some ideas, and I didn't think about that, and her ideas were fabulous and turned out great.
The beautiful bar that you all provided was spectacular, and I had guests. I still have my friends and family coming up and talking about how much they loved that space, and it was just really nice. It made it seem more than just, a wedding reception.
No two weddings there are the same, which is really, really cool. So it was so much easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be really hard.
Went really smoothly. Like I think we were both really, nervous, especially in the beginning before the ceremony and everything. And I think you even brought us up food at one point because we were so nervous. And I think we were just like, we need something to do. We need food or something. And you brought us up like a little bit of our appetizers.
Being able to see the owner of the catering company, very visual, very hands-on, and see a lot of the detail just come to life. You talk about it, you see it on paper, and then the day of you see it kind of come to life. And then to be able to see the owner of the catering company come up to you and say, what can I get you? That personal touch is, feels good.
It was just perfect. Everyone did everything. Everything was done. Nothing went wrong. I don't know how, but nothing went wrong.
The day was perfect.
It was
It was
perfect.
positively perfect.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Call jScott. Call jScott. I have the phone number.